Hi, my name is Nicholas. Welcome to this week's Hatha practice. For props for today, I suggest having a couple hard blocks and a soft block, and we'll get started in a seated meditation. So if you want to use any of your props for this, then go for it. And come and find any comfortable seated position, whether it's cross-legged or legs extended. And if for any reason you don't want to be sitting upright to begin, you can also start lying on the back or in child's pose or something like that. So take a moment to settle yourself in, and whatever's touching the floor, just give it a moment to ground down. If any part feels a little fidgety or would benefit from a little movement before you find your stillness, then go for it and find a little movement first. When you do feel ready, start to find your stillness and start to find a sense of space in the body as well. Maybe closing down the eyes if that feels comfortable. As the pelvis grounds down, find that sense of length through the spine. See if anything's holding here that doesn't have to be. Maybe the shoulders are shrugging slightly, or maybe the face is a little tense. And see if you can soften anything you don't need. Hands can rest wherever feels the most comfortable. As you find your stillness, notice your breath here. You don't have to change it, but notice the inhales and the exhales. Perhaps notice the effect that the breath has on the body. Staying in stillness here, notice if the mind has started to wander and bring it back to your breath. Bringing the focus to the area around the belly, notice what happens there with each inhale and exhale. As the belly expands with each inhale, and as it gently contracts with each exhale. And then bring your attention to the chest and see what effect the breath has there. Perhaps a slight rising, a slight expansion through the chest with your inhales. And then a return to center with your exhales. Now bring your attention to the side body. So if the arms are by the sides, it will be the space underneath them. And again, notice the effect of the breath. Perhaps you feel them get a little bit wider apart one side to the other with your inhales, and that gentle contraction towards the spine with your exhales. Lastly, bring your attention to the back body, and again, notice the effect of the breath. Perhaps the shoulder blades get a little broader with your inhales. Perhaps they soften back and down with your exhales. And if you need more time in stillness, maybe being here working with your breath, then you can stay as you are. We'll stand cross-legged a little while longer. So if you want to change the cross of your legs, then go for it. If you need a little shakeout, then go for that. And you might not need a prop for this. And starting our Sufi grind, so rotating around the center of the spine. Take a moment to lengthen here, and then start to rotate in a counterclockwise direction. Moving nice and slow, so using an entire inhale and exhale to complete a full circle. And you're welcome to start off more upright here when you feel ready to. If you like to start to exaggerate the motion, maybe getting the upper spine, the neck involved, maybe the shoulders or anywhere else. Moving with your breath at your pace, and also the option to pause anywhere along the way if you find a sticky spot that maybe needs a little breath to soften. The last few circles here. The next time you complete an exhale, take a brief pause. With the next inhale, change direction. You don't have to start deeply, so if you want to come more upright and maybe take a few shallower circles first, then go for it. This side may also feel a little different to the first, so do whatever you need to do here. last few circles. And gently slowing your circles down, coming a little more upright. And when you're ready, pause with a tall spine. Anchor the pelvis to the floor, grow the crown of the head towards the ceiling, soften the shoulders if they're shrugging. Notice your breath. Notice it in the belly, in the chest, in the ribs, in the back. If your eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. Leaning back on the hands, release the legs, take the feet nice and wide, and start to windshield wiper the knees side to side. Even here, you can pause if there's a sticky spot. Move with your breath at your pace. Awesome. And when you're ready, find your props and have them near the top of the mat so that they're there if needed. And we'll come to a tabletop position. Take a moment to set up the hands, maybe just in front of the shoulders. Spread the fingers nice and wide apart. Gently grip the finger pads into the floor. And then from here, we'll tuck the toes and lift the knees and come and find downward facing dog. It'll probably feel good to pedal the legs a little bit here, stretching out the calves and the hamstrings. And don't forget the upper body as well, so keep the hands actively pressing into the floor. Find that stability for the wrists, for the shoulders. And moving any way you need to here, and when you're ready to find your stillness, then go for it. You might keep a slight or generous bend to the knees here, encouraging that heavy feeling through the spine. Maybe a nod, yes and no with the head. And then notice your breath here. Notice it in the belly, in the chest, in the side ribs, in the back body. Awesome. When you feel ready to, keep the hands pressing down to the floor. With an inhale, lift the left leg high up behind you. And then with your exhale, step the left foot forward between the hands. And take a moment to find your balance. So it might be helpful to take the left foot to the left or right foot to the right a little bit. And then when you're ready, with an inhale, start to come all the way up, and we'll find a high lunge. And check in with the hips here, notice what's happening. So generally keeping the pelvis in line side to side. So if you have a tendency to send that right hip back, see if you can encourage it forward a little bit. And then we'll play with dipping the back knee to the floor, so hands can be wherever you need them for balance. And take a deep inhale here, fill up. And as you exhale, gently start to bend the back knee, maybe to hover off the floor. Inhale, breath, re-extend, come up. And exhale, lower. And 3 more. Last 2, nice and slow. Last 1. Inhale, breath, come up. And exhale, breath, drop the knee all the way to the floor. Find your blocks now, or you can work from fingertips. If you need to lengthen your base a little bit, then go for it. Inhale breath, open the front body, lift the gaze. Exhale breath, send the hips back and extend the front leg. And then flow with your breath. Inhale forward and exhale back. And keep going and make sure that this works for your spine. So if you need to find a higher setting or if you need to keep the spine more upright the whole time, then you're welcome to do that as well. And you can keep flowing like this. Or the next time you inhale forward to your lunge, lift the back knee up. With a subsequent exhale, re-extend the front leg, back knee stays lifted, and then flow here, inhaling to a higher lunge and exhaling to a pyramid variation. Your breath, your pace. Last couple. The next time you inhale, come forward to your lunge. With your exhale, we'll step forward to a forward fold at the top of the mat. And once again, it might feel nice to pedal out the legs a little bit. If you need a higher setting for your props, if something else feels better for the spine, then go for it. And when you feel ready to fold, then go for that. So keep as much of a bend to the knees as you need. Let the head hang nice and heavy. Let the arms be wherever feels comfortable. Notice your breath here. Belly, chest, ribs, and back. Perhaps returning your hands to your props and coming to a halfway lift shape as you're ready. From your top of the mat, take an inhale here, and then step the left foot all the way to the back, and setting up your high lunge on the second side. So again, adjust your stance as needed, find your balance, and then when you're ready, come on up. Check in with the hips here, encouraging the right hip back this time, the left hip forward to square the pelvis, arms wherever you need them to be. And then we'll play with bending that back knee once again. So inhale, breath here, grow tall. And as you exhale, back knee bends and lowers down. Inhale, come up. And exhale, lower. 3 more. Last one. Inhale, breath, come on up. And exhale, lower all the way down. Bring the knee to the floor. Hands to your props. Adjust your stance as needed. Inhale, breath, open the front body, lift the chest. Exhale, hips back, front leg extends. And this side may feel different to the first, so feel free to modify and flow with your breath. And keep going right here. Or if you did so on the first side, the next time you inhale and come forward, lift the back knee up, and then continue your flow with the back knee lifted. Your breath, your pace. Last few. The next time you inhale, come forward, and exhale, step to the top of the mat. Again, give the legs a little bit of movement here, and when you're ready, come to find stillness in your forward fold. Any expression of forward fold, and if you like to interlace the hands behind the skull, add a little weight to the head, then go for it, or any other bind you like to explore. If you have a bind, you can let that go and come to a halfway lift position, maybe hands to legs or to props, and then pause here. Really anchor the feet into the floor, especially through the heels, through the ball of each foot, and then really lengthen from the tailbone to the crown of the head. We'll stay here for a few breaths, so you can keep using the hands as much as you need, wherever you need them to be. If you want a little more challenge, then maybe bring the hands to prayer. Make sure that this isn't compromising the low back, and you can always be in a higher up position as well. Breathe here. Notice where your breath is. Continue to press the feet to the floor, and now with an inhale breath, come all the way up to stand and reach the arms up towards the ceiling. And you can pause just like this for as long as you need. Find a little softness for the shoulders and anywhere else that you can find it. Awesome. When you're ready, you can release your arms down to your sides and then wiggle the fingers and the toes. Give the head a rock side to side. Awesome. We'll step to the middle of the mat, and you can have your props nearby as well. And set up your stance so whatever distance between the feet feels the most steady for you today, and whatever angle with the feet feels the most natural. And press the feet down into the floor. With an inhale breath, circle the arms up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, twist towards the left, bring the arms to a T shape. And then inhale breath up to center and to the right. And keep going with your breath at your pace. Always the option to close down the eyes here if you like. Last couple each side. One more each. When you finish your last round, inhale breath, come to center, reach up, and exhale, release the arms down to your sides. And give the arms a little bit of a shake out here. And from here, we'll step the left foot behind the right and over to the right. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling, setting up for a side stretch. So right hand can stay at the right hip. That might feel more steady for you. You can also take the right hand to the left wrist. And take an inhale here, lengthen the whole body. As you exhale, start to arc over towards the right any amount, and it might help to come up onto the left tippy toes. You can press that foot to the floor. Now, if the spine needs more support, of course, right hand to the right hip, and then breathe that whole left line of the body from the ankle up to the left wrist. And gaze can turn as well if something would feel more comfortable for the neck. Awesome. Inhale, breath, come on up, and then pause here for a moment. So we'll keep the legs crossed as they are, and we're going to set up for a fold. So you can have your props in front, and you can use any height setting. And when you're ready, start to fold over the legs. And come in nice and slow here. If it helps to feel like you're bending the knees a little bit, then go for that. And you can adjust where the feet are as well. Maybe you have them a little closer together, a little further apart. See what feels best in your body. And then let the spine get heavy here. Notice what stretch you're feeling through the legs. Imagine you could breathe into it. All right, inhale, breath, halfway lift. Exhale, pause here. Now press the feet down. Inhale, come all the way up, reach the arms up. And then uncross the legs and then return to your mountain pose as you feel ready. And then we'll do that on the second side as well. So this time the right foot can cross behind the left, maybe on your tippy toes. Left hand might be at the hip straight away. Maybe you start with left hand to the right wrist. Inhale, breath, lengthen the whole body. And exhale, arc over towards the left. Maybe on the right tippy toes. Breathe into that stretch from the right ankle all the way up to the right wrist. All right, inhale, breath, come on up. And then we'll set up to fold here. So as you're ready, you can start to come down, come nice and slow, have your props ready for you, and then see what this side feels like. And again, you might adjust, maybe feet a little wider apart. That might even help you target that IT band. Maybe imagining a slight bend to the knees. Letting the head go if it feels like you're holding it in a specific place. Then we'll prepare to come up. So coming to a halfway lift first and then pausing here for a moment and pressing the feet down with an inhale, come all the way up, circle the arms up. At all lightheaded, keep the arms up and then uncross the legs and release to find your mountain pose. Lift and spread the toes, lower them with a little space in between. And grounding the feet down, rebounding the spine up. And soft shoulders and hands, and soften the facial expression, maybe close down the eyes. Notice your breath in the body. As you're ready, flutter the eyes, wiggle the fingers and the toes, and then take the feet nice and wide as you comfortably can / want to, and find the angle with the feet that feels best. For me, slightly turned toes in works best for the hips, but see what works and feels the most natural for you, and you can always adjust that later on. And take an inhale breath to lengthen the spine, and then stay here and soften the shoulders down. Inhale, circle the arms up, and now hinge forward to a wide-legged forward fold. And your props are here if you'd rather be in a halfway lift shape or if you need to use them as you adjust the legs. Let's see what it feels like to let the spine get nice and heavy. Let the head go as well, maybe a gentle nod, yes and no. And notice where your weight is. Is it more in the heels or more in the toes? Can you find a balance between the two? And from your fold, coming to a halfway lift position as you feel ready. And keep the right foot pointing as it is, but we'll switch the left foot to point towards the top of the mat, and you can bend into that left knee. So think of your warrior two legs. You can come with your props and then start to angle the body to point towards the top right corner of the mat. So setting up for a humble warrior two, you can stay right here using your props for support. You can de-weight one or both hands and bring them towards the low back, maybe interlacing the hands behind the back. And now as you de-weight, notice what happens to the hips, and if the tendency is for that left hip to swing behind you and the torso to swing towards center, see what you can do to counter that and keep the head pointing maybe towards that top right corner. Now, if the hands are at the low back, option to start to extend the arms here as well, and listen to your body if you need to modify or go with something a little more gentle. All right, if your arms are lifted, bring them back to your props. And now come to frame that front foot and hop the back foot a little bit closer and start to point the toes towards the top of the mat. So starting to square the pelvis here, and we'll set up for a warrior one stance. So when you're ready, you can come on up and then we can make any readjustments to the legs. So if the stance feels too long or too short, if you need to give the front leg a little break, feel free to extend it as well. Check in with the hips, and once again, we'll square the pelvis, so energetically encouraging the left hip back, the right hip forward, And find any angle to the back foot that helps you accommodate this. So my back foot is pointing mostly towards the front, maybe a little bit out. For some people, pointing a little further to the right will feel more comfortable. Really ground down through the feet. If you want to challenge the balance, you can close down the eyes. Find the arm expression that feels best here. I'm going to take my arms up towards the ceiling. And then notice your breath here. And notice it at the shoulder blades, at the ribs, at the chest. All right. If the arms are lifted, you can bring them back down and then start to extend the front leg. We're going to set for pyramid here. So some people like to shorten the stance a little bit, and you can see how it goes. Now I'm going to offer a variation with a bind for the arms, so the arms won't be there for support. But listen to your body, and if that's not what you need, at any point you can lower your hands to your props or to the floor. If you're coming with me for eagle arms, we'll inhale, reach the arms wide, and with your exhale, right arm underneath left, maybe hands find the shoulders, or you can interlace, maybe backs of the hands or palms can come to touch. Now notice the hips, keep them square. Inhale, breath, lift the heart space, maybe the gaze. And then as you exhale, slowly start to hinge from the hips and come and find your fold over that left leg. Now notice what happens to the rest of the body here. And if that left hip is racing forward ahead of the right, see what you can do, maybe pressing the feet down to encourage it back. Let the spine be heavy here, let the head be heavy, let the arms be heavy, and find your breath. All right, if the hands are interlaced, release them and find your props. Come to a halfway lift. Deep inhale. And with your exhale, walk your hands over towards the right. Find the center of the mat. Pivot all 10 toes towards the right. And we'll come to a wide-legged forward fold. Now see what you need here. Maybe you'd rather stay in a halfway lift shape. Otherwise, hinge and fold over the legs. And maybe this time bring the hands somewhere along the legs. See where it feels the most comfortable. It can be anywhere from the ankles to the hips. You can slowly walk the hands back out in front, maybe to your props or to the floor. Find your halfway lift. And then pivot the right foot towards the back of the mat. And straight away, you can bend into that right knee. Start to walk the hands towards the top right corner. Finding that warrior two stance here. And then with the feet pressing to the floor, encourage the hips towards the midline. And then finding your version of the humble warrior. So maybe with hands to the props the whole time, maybe one hand to the low back, or maybe both. And keep encouraging the hips to midline. Keep encouraging that heaviness through the spine. If the hands are interlaced, option to lift them up high. And breathe here. If the arms are lifted, you can bring them back to the floor, to your props, and then come to frame the front foot. Hop the left foot a little bit to the left, point the toes forward, and bring the foot close enough that you can have the heel to the floor. Now grounding down with an inhale breath, come on up and we'll set for warrior one. So again, feel free to give that front thigh a little bit of a break. You can pause here. And then when you're ready, bend knee, encourage that right hip back. If you need to shorten or lengthen or anything else, go for it. And then it's possible that this side, the setup will be a little different. So maybe the back foot was pointing more forward or more out on the first side. Maybe this side it will point a little differently. Now take a moment to notice the low back as well. And if it feels like a back bend, maybe a slight hug of the pubic bone towards the belly button to counteract that to support the spine. Arms in any expression you like. Maybe close down the eyes. If the arms are lifted, you can bring them down and then slowly extend the front leg towards straight. Now again, setting up for pyramid, so making any adjustments that you need. And if you're coming with me for eagle arms, inhale them wide, and this time left underneath right, hands to shoulders or backs of the hands together, palms together. Inhale breath, lengthen the spine, puff up the chest. As you exhale, start to hinge your way forward towards your pyramid. Now listen to your body, and if you need to come out of the arms or if you need to adjust anything else, then go for it. Notice what the hips are doing. Keep encouraging that right hip back in space. Find your breath here. The spacious inhales and grounding exhales. If the hands are in a bind, release them to the floor, halfway lift, and then walk the hands over towards the left, re-parallel the feet, toes pointing towards the left as well. Setting for one last round of a wide-legged fold. So take your inhale here, and your exhale, start to hinge and fold over both legs. And see where you'd like to take the arms here. Maybe the hands are somewhere to the legs. If you like another bind at the back body, then go for that. And one last option here is to bring the fingertips down to the floor and then start to bring your weight into the heels and think about lifting maybe the ball of the foot, maybe it's just the toes. So perhaps balancing on the heel, sticking the bum back in space, and then think about walking your hands as far forward as you can until you're in kind of a precarious shape, but stretching through the spine and stretching the backs of the legs. If you're balancing on fingertips and heels with me, then slowly bring the soles of the feet back down. You can walk the hands back in. And from your halfway lift shape, start to heel toe the feet a little closer together, maybe a bit wider than hip distance. Point the toes out to an angle, and then start to bend the knees, and we'll come and find a squat. So find your version of a squat. If you like to use your hard blocks as a seat or to support underneath the heels, then go for that. Palms can come together if you like. You could do the backs of the hands if you want a little wrist stretch. Sometimes holding those blocks like that can be a little intense, so do what you need to do. And if the elbows are pressing the knees apart, just create enough resistance with the knees so that you can support the low back here. If you like to close down the eyes, then go for it. All right, if the hands are up, then you can bring them down behind you, slowly lower the bum down to the floor, and then feet nice and wide, take a windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. We're going to set up deer pose or a 90-90 pose. So we'll start with the left leg forward. So the next time the left leg comes down, then just keep going with that a little bit until you can lower the right knee down. You can adjust the left leg. So left shin mostly parallel to the top edge, right shin mostly parallel to the long edge. And either or both feet can come closer to the body, and that can change the shape, make it feel a little more accessible. If in this shape, like me, you're kind of leaning over to the left, then it might be helpful to find your soft block, maybe take it underneath the left hip. And then likewise, if this puts pressure on the knee, then you could play with having a prop underneath, or if you have a pillow or a blanket nearby, you can give yourself some more padding. See as well, sometimes flexing the foot or pointing the toes can create more support for the knee. So if you do have sensitivity there, you might play around with that a little. We're going to fold over this left leg here. So you could fold more towards the knee, towards the, kind of the calf, or towards the ankle. So you might experiment a little and just see what feels like the best stretch for today. I'm going to take it in the direction of the foot because that's what feels best for me. So just listen to your body here and take your time. There's no rush. And if you want to change it up halfway through or at any point, then go for it. And as you come to fold, if you find that the head is hovering, maybe a little uncomfortably, perhaps you have a block nearby you can bring to support it. Make sure it feels like a pain-free expression. If you are feeling pinching anywhere, especially knees, hips, ankles, low back, then back out of the shape. Awesome. If you're folded with the support of the hands, slowly make your way up. We'll keep this leg shape a little while longer and just take a slight twist here. So start to walk both your hands over towards the left and then just pause here. Awesome. Unraveling back to center. If you have a prop underneath the left hip, you can remove it and then lean back onto your bum. Take a windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. And then we'll set up for the second side. So as the knees come down towards the right, you can pause and then start to set yourself up here. So adjusting the legs as needed. Don't worry too much about where they are visually. Focus more on what it feels like and look for a similar sensation to the first side, even if it ends up being quite a different shape. And then check in here. You can see if you want to fold knee, shin, or foot. You can choose the exact same. You can choose to mix it up a little bit, be where you need to be. Make sure it's a pain-free expression. If anything needs a little more support, then take some time to add that in. And then notice the breath here. With the support of the hands and an inhale, slowly start to lift yourself back up. And once again, we'll find that twist. So you can walk your hands over towards the right as far as they'd like to go. And then pause for a few deep breaths. Even here, notice the breath. Notice the belly, the chest, the side ribs, the back. All right, coming back to center. And then slowly lowering down onto the bum, feet nice and wide. One last time, take that windshield wiper side to side to release. Awesome. If you have your props, you can take them near the top of the mat in case they're handy. And then from here, we'll swing the legs out of the way and then lower down onto the belly. We're going to set up a Sphinx pose here. So you can take the elbows underneath the shoulders. You can have the forearms pointing towards each other or parallel. And then see what extra support you need here. So if you need to adjust anything so that the spine feels more comfortable, then go for it. If it's too much of a back bend, then you can walk the elbows forward and lower yourself partway down. If you like a little more sensation, then you can make yourself a shelf with your props and then bring the elbows up onto that. Whatever you're choosing, make sure you feel happy with it. If you need to make any adjustments, then go for it. If you like more sensation still, there's also the option to bend the knees here, bring the feet up towards the ceiling. So find your version of the shape. Keep the elbows pressing down just enough that the chest can stay lifted, and then maybe a neutral neck, so a slight tuck of the chin in, but the gaze can be out in front. Maybe closing down the eyes here, and breathe into your shape. Notice the low body here, and if something's holding that doesn't have to be, maybe it can soften. If you need a little more time here, feel free to stay. Otherwise, slowly start to take the elbows a little bit wider apart, lowering the chest down towards the floor, maybe stacking the palms for the forehead, and give the hips a gentle swish side to side. You can stay just like this on the belly, or slide the left knee up towards the left, and you can use your soft block if you need a little more support there. And if you like to take the gaze down towards the right, then go for that. If the head is turned, bring it back to center. You can re-extend the left leg, and then we'll bend the right knee, and perhaps take the gaze over towards the left. Once again, bringing the head back to center, re-extending that right leg. And we're going to flip over to the back, but just make sure you have your hard blocks nearby. You can take them to one side. Awesome. And then any adjustments once you arrive on your back. And we'll set up for a twist. So if you have your blocks nearby, you might take them down towards the bottom right or kind of near the right hip. And then I'm going to do an eagle leg twist, but if you'd rather have the two knees stacked together, if that feels better for your body, then go for that. If you're coming with me, wrap the left thigh around the right, scoot the hips over towards the left, and then start to lower the left knee down towards the right, and it might land nicely on your props. If you need to adjust something, then go for it. And if this feels icky in the body for any reason, then take the two knees stack twist. Arms to a T shape might feel nice here. If you'd like to take the gaze down towards the left, then go for it. Adjust anything you need and then find your stillness in the shape. Gently bring the head back together and squeeze the legs and bring the knees back up together. Unravel the legs, scoot the hips to midline. And if you're using props, you can take your blocks down towards the left side now. Wrapping that right thigh around the left, scooting the hips over towards the right, and then lowering the knees down towards the left. And this side may feel different. It may need something slightly different. And take your time to set it up, maybe arms to a T or somewhere else. Maybe gaze down towards the right. Find your breath here. Bringing the head back to center and slowly lifting the legs back up to center. Hips to midline, and then pick the feet a little bit wider. And one last time, windshield wiper the knees side to side. Awesome. And then check in with your body, see if you need any last quiet stretch or movement. And when you're ready, we'll come and find Shavasana. So finding any comfortable symmetrical expression to rest in. Legs can be extended. You could do butterfly legs. If for any reason you don't want to be on the back, feel free to come to a seated meditation or to a child's pose. And see if you'd benefit from the use of any props here. So maybe something for underneath the legs. Sometimes that can help for the low back or anywhere else at all. Find the arm expression that feels just the most natural, the most comfortable. If any part of the body feels a little fidgety, give yourself some movement to help you settle in. Quieting down the body, the mind, the breath. Coming to find your stillness and your rest. Gently deepen the breath to reawaken the body. Find some movement, wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe some rotations of the wrists and the ankles. And perhaps a full body stretch. You can reach the arms up overhead, point the toes, point the fingers, wiggle the shoulders and the hips. And then maybe curling the knees up into your chest and wrapping the arms around them, maybe forehead to the knees, curl to a ball and rock up and down a few times, maybe side by side, maybe some circles for the low back, one direction and the other. And eventually roll down to one side wherever you have the most space and take a pause for a breath or two. And with the support of the hands, coming up to find any comfortable seated position, using any of the props that you have around. Take a moment to get comfortable, to settle the hips, to lengthen the spine, soften anything you don't need here. And now notice the space around the belly and take a deep inhale. And soften, exhale. Notice the chest. Inhale. And exhale. The side ribs. And the shoulder blades. Now hands can stay where they are. Collect the palms in front of the heart. Bow the chin in towards the chest. And thank you for sharing your breath and your practice today. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for your yoga practice today. My name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and enjoy the rest of your day.